Hey, this is Todd Cahill. Thanks so much for watching this video. The subject I want to talk about today is overcoming adversity and really what it takes to overcome the adversity that you and I face on a day-to-day basis. And I'm telling you, life can kick our butt. And I think you know that. I think right now, maybe you're in a situation right now that life is kicking your butt. Maybe it's a battle of your relationships. Maybe it's a battle of your routine. Maybe it's broken promises. Maybe it's life catching up on you. Maybe it's bills. It's you versus your finances. I wrote the best-selling book, You Versus You. We're actually having a relaunch in January. I'm excited to relaunch this. It came out about 5 years ago, became a bestseller. I went on CNN to talk about it. I've definitely utilized this book, but I revised the book and a new version of it is coming out in early 2024. So battle is on my mind and adversity is on my mind, but there's been so many different things in my life that I want to share with you and maybe get some vulnerability here, because that's what it's all about. You know, it's really coming together, the mastermind group, and just talking about, I'm not saying complaining about your problems and then leaving. It's actually being really vulnerable with what is currently happening in your life. Maybe you're going through a divorce right now and like nobody knows it. And you're struggling and you're just like, man, I need help. But maybe especially if you're a man, it's like you haven't really reached out for help. You're supposed to be masculine. You're supposed to be a fighter. You're supposed to be a warrior. And I could definitely relate with that. But you're in a desperation place right now. I mean, you're searching on YouTube to find help. Maybe your spouse is this and that, and you're starting to really put the blame on them. And if they weren't this, or if they didn't do this, maybe you're putting the blame on yourself right now. Maybe you're saying, if I didn't do this, and you're living in this kind of overwhelmed state of, what did I do to deserve this, right? We start to feel kind of pity or shame or guilt. And I'm telling you, more that you feel like that, the less empowered that you're going to feel to overcome your problems, right? You're not going to be probably working out every day. You're probably not going to be looking at the mirror and saying, you got this. You're probably going to be looking at the mirror and saying, you don't got this. And at the end of the day, that's okay, as long as it's like an hour of crying or maybe a day of just overwhelmed. But if you keep that feeling day in, day out, you're definitely going to be declining in life. And here's the power that we all have as individuals. You're either growing or declining. That is exactly science. You look at the weather, you look at nature. I mean, it's raining one day, it's sunny the next day, and that rain is actually growing the crops, it's growing the grass, it's growing the trees, and they're receiving that, and it's growing, and eventually some of that might die through a drought or something like that. But the thing is, with human beings, we actually have a choice. Now, that plant might not have a choice if they're going to grow or not, right? It's based on a lot of different outside facts. But for you and I as human beings, and I know this is easier said than done, because again, I'm facing adversity now. I faced tons of adversity. I'm going to share a few stories about that here soon, just so I can better maybe relate to maybe what you're going through, just as friend to friend, maybe empower you on certain things that you can do, especially if you are lonely and you're just sitting at home and you don't really have anyone to talk to and you're just kind of looking at YouTube for maybe some answers or whatever. And I hope, because I've been there many times, just sitting on my couch alone, wondering, I've been even down so much that I even, was thinking about calling a hotline, maybe to end my life, stuff like that. I've been there. But what I'm trying to tell you is, from my experience, being someone that is an entrepreneur, someone that loves growth, personal growth, in the gym, getting fit, I love seeing myself become a better person, a better version of myself. It is a choice. It's a simple choice of, am I going to grow today or am I going to decline today? Am I going to read 10 pages of a good book? Maybe it's the Bible. Maybe it's a specialized book on relationships. Maybe it's an article that's going to help me. Maybe it's a 10-minute, 15-minute conversation with a great friend that I trust. What is it for you? It's just a simple choice of growth. Now, I'm not saying you have to grow to be incredible in one day or a week, but even if it's just a little every day. Now, the reason I bring that up is because being an entrepreneur, okay, just as an example, I have dealt with tens of thousands of different types of personalities or people. And I don't know what the statistic is. I think 2% of the world is self-motivated. I think more percentage is self-motivated. I think motivators, like people that go from self-motivated to like motivators, I think it's about 2%. And I think that that's really scary, actually. I don't understand why. I consider myself a motivator. I consider myself definitely self-motivated. I don't consider myself unmotivated. And I know there's a pretty high percentage of people that are unmotivated or unmotivatable, which I think is such a kind of a harsh place to be. So hopefully, if you're watching this, you're obviously not unmotivated or unmotivatable, because there's literally nothing that anyone can do for you other than a miracle, okay? But self-motivated, who wants to really become a motivator, to really live a life of their dreams, even if they're going through adversity, you gotta really go through history. I mean, all of the greats, Alexander the Great, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, so many different even presidents of the United States of America have gone through so much adversity. Abraham Lincoln, for instance, George Washington, basically starting this country, being the first president, even though he didn't even really want to be. It's just interesting to kind of read history, and we think like people hundreds of years ago were so different than us, and they didn't have electricity back then, so they got to be way different than us. And actually, human beings are the same, whether they're now or 1,000 years ago. We all have human needs, and we all have human wants and needs, and human behaviors, right? So again, when times get tough, a lot of times people will kind of falter. They'll kind of curl up in a ball. They'll stop producing at work. They'll stop getting in shape. They'll stop focusing on even their spiritual health or emotional health. And I'm here to tell you, welcome, because we all face that. So at the end of the day, what are you going to do about it? So I'll just share a quick example. I forget the year, but in 2013, I got divorced. I have 3 beautiful kids, and I got married very quickly in 2005. I met a woman at Starbucks in June, ended up marrying her at the end of that year. We found out at the time, I say my wife, but she wasn't my wife yet, and that she's pregnant after like 3 months of dating. And I was like a virgin at the time. I mean, I grew up Christian home. Sex was kind of like bad unless you're married and stuff like that. So I think I was like 22, and I was just like, dude, like I gotta have sex. Like something's gotta happen here. Like this is ridiculous. Like I'm getting older, and finally when I first started dating, because I was very shy and growing up and stuff like that, I didn't have a lot of girlfriends. Although I wanted to have a lot of girlfriends, I just couldn't have the courage to maybe walk up to a girl or ask her out, stuff like that. And eventually started to kind of fit into my body, so to speak. I'm 6'6", and kind of always felt awkward in high school, but started to fill out and started to kind of get that confidence going. Anyway, all of a sudden I know there's a baby on the way, and I have about $2,000 to my name. And so once we got married, it was kind of a shotgun wedding, and I wanted to do the right thing. I had all the right intentions. And I finally, that was actually good for me, because what I learned is that burning desire to overcome adversity, because I have another human being that I'm responsible for. And I think as a man, that was huge for me, because whether it's having a baby, you don't realize you didn't want the baby at the, meaning you didn't plan for it, right? But now that your baby's on the way, you're so excited. It's something that I was very excited about, but I was very nervous about, but I put all my energy into my work. And at that time, I was in a network marketing company. It was the maybe first full year that I was doing something, and I killed it. I went from like here to kind of like this. And I started making really good money. And by the time my daughter was born, I mean, I was making like $10,000 a month, not even a year later. I mean, that is good, right? So you can take adversity and it can become, and I'm not saying having a baby is adversity, but when you don't plan for it and you're young, and you don't even know who you are yet, I would say, yeah, that is adversity, especially since you have to dedicate the rest of your life to this child. But it really does help. So pressure, a lot of times people say pressure is not good. I'm here to tell you, pressure is actually really good. You need to embrace pressure, because when I coach people and they're talking about, well, don't pressure me, and I don't like the pressure, and I don't like accountability. This is a person that is unmotivatable. And we have to be very careful whether you're saying, watch the way that you speak. If you're saying to someone else, or a coach or a mentor, or just even your friends, like, hey man, do not pressure me. I can't have any pressure on me. I can't be stressed. I'm telling you, you're not performing. You're not going to perform at a high level. And you look at like Michael Jordan, my favorite athlete of all time, and there's so much Kobe and LeBron James talk, and I think Kobe was incredible. LeBron James is And Michael Jordan was at a whole different level. But man, the more that you study Michael Jordan, is like, you talk about adversity. You talk about his dad died and was murdered, and he was cut from his high school basketball team in Wilmington, North Carolina, going into the varsity. And then he used that year of adversity to get better on his skills and work hard and become incredible at basketball. And of course, he grew, which was definitely helpful. And then he went on to be the high school player of the year. And then he went to University of North Carolina, played under Dean Smith in 1980, won the, not world championship, but the NCAA championship in 1982 as a freshman. And what's interesting about that too, if you're a sports fan, the adversity to even take the last shot, when there's like 20 seconds left against Georgetown, Patrick Ewing, 1982, pass to Jordan, score. That's confidence. And yes, I would say that's a little bit of adversity. It's like you're going against an opponent. You're two of the best teams in college basketball, and you just nail a shot, no problem. As a freshman, that's the kind of confidence that you have to have. So you have to kind of look at adversity as like, give me the ball. Give me that ball. I want to take that shot. I mean, hey, I'm broke right now. Give me the ball. I'm going to learn not to be broke again. I'm going to learn this as a place of reference. I'm going to learn that being broke is actually really good, because I never want to feel this way. And I'm going to create a story that's going to change a lot of lives, including myself. So I need to lock into an opportunity where I never have to worry about money again, which obviously, there's many opportunities out there, including the one that I do, which is insane, and residual income. And that's a whole different subject later. But, that's great. You're broke. You're going through a divorce right now. Okay. What did you learn? And how is this going to set you up for the next jump shot? How is this going to set you up for the next year when you're going through that championship year? Yes, it's tough now. Yes, you're going to need support. Yes, you're going to need a lot of help. But going back to my story, is when my daughter was born, like, things were really, really good. Now, years go by, and of course, because it was kind of a shotgun wedding and it was all new to me, and I was kind of in my early 20s, and I kind of got married because of my beliefs and my faith at the time. What happened was there was a lot of adversity in my marriage, and eventually it ended, and I got divorced, and that's with 3 kids. Now, you talk about the hardest thing. It's one thing to get divorced from somebody that you don't have kids. It's still very difficult, especially if you don't want it or the other person doesn't want it. At least one party doesn't want the divorce. I've never really heard of someone that says, like, both parties are so happy to divorce. I mean, it does happen, I'm sure, but it's very rare. Usually 1 out of 2 doesn't want it and 1 does. So anyway, I just remember, like, that first year, the second year, the third year, not only the child support, and I was making really good money at the time, so a lot of child support, and I'm happy to do it. Obviously, I still do it to this day and love to provide, because I feel like that's my job. It was just so much, like, adversity. And there was even adversity a year later when I met my now wife, and there was just so much fighting, and my wife, at the time, or ex-wife at the time, so we're all dealing with that. And it's a very ugly thing a lot of times. And I had to lead people, and still do today, but it's not easy to wake up motivated. It's not easy to get in a huge fight, and even if it's not your fault, and we're talking even legal fights, legal issues, going to court, trying to fight for your children, who's going to take them, what times of the weekend, every other weekend, this weekend. And I've just been dealing with that. Now I've been divorced for 10 years, but it's not easy. It's really, 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 really not easy, and it's very difficult. But I still had to go on. I still had to show up for my kids. I still had to be in shape, in my opinion. I still had to work out. I still had to find mentors. I still had to read the books, and I still had to. But if I could go back, what I would say to that person 10 years ago was just, hey, chill. Like, really, really look at this as a great opportunity to love. Okay, love yourself, to show love even to your ex-wife. And I'm not talking about in a romantic way. I'm talking about just like almost being quiet, not fighting with her. And I'm not saying let her have everything, but we all go through certain things like this that are devastating. Maybe it's a death in the family. I remember 2 years ago, almost to the date, that my dad and my sister, it's actually going to be 3 years coming in a month, but my dad and my sister died in the same week. My sister was 50 years old, and my dad was 75, and she died, and then he died all in the same week. That's adversity. To lose one parent is adversity, but to lose a sister and a parent all in 1 week, and it was the beginning of 2021 when this all happened. And I was starting a new company at the time. I was completely, I was the CEO of a brand new company, and there's just so much stuff going on. There's so much stuff going on with that. There's so much stuff going on with two deaths, two funerals in different states. Seeing my mom, what she had to go through. They're married for 40 years. And just also not being there like I wanted to be with my dad for many years because I've been always so busy. So the whole point is, like, we all face these adversities. So what's the point of this video? The point of this video is this. If you're just sitting there feeling sorry for yourself, you have to remember that everyone else pretty much in life is going through or has gone through what you're going through currently. Now, I understand the highest level of adversity is losing a child, cancer, stage 4 stuff, 100%. Certain things are way harder than other things, okay? But how I look at it is, I have my faith in God, and I can only do what I can do. Now, Art Williams said it the best. All I can do is all I can do, and all I can do is going to be always enough, okay? So just do your best that you can do. Life is messy, it's complicated, people are complicated, so showing love is everything. Whether you believe in God or not, maybe you look at the Bible and you're just like, man, this thing is complicated. How can this be real? Adam and Eve, and then they ate an apple, and then it sounds like a fairy tale, and all of a sudden, God said no, and you're depart, and then God sends his son Jesus years later, thousands of years later, and he dies for us at age 33, and then we have Christmas, and there's Easter, and there's all these other religions, and there's heaven, and then there's a hell, and and if you're not good, or if you don't accept the Lord in your heart, then you go to hell. And again, I'm not going to get into that theology right now. It's not, I think, appropriate. But all I'm trying to do is I'm relating with you like I totally get it. Like, there's a lot of unanswered questions that I have too, even about God, religion, all that stuff. But I think they get it. They get one thing right, and that's unconditional love. So if you really, really just focus on loving people, even if they tick you off, piss you off, if you focus on loving yourself. Okay, Mike Tyson talks a lot about this. The new Mike Tyson, not 20 years ago Mike Tyson, the Mike Tyson of today, I call him philosopher Mike Tyson. He talks about self-love, and I really agree with him on most things that he says. Like, even before you believe in God, you got to believe in yourself. Like, your belief, and that's not a new age thing. Believing in yourself and the universe, and it's all about you, right? And I didn't write that you versus you because of that. I wrote the battles that we go through, but you will have help on the other end. Like, there is, a God or spirit, whatever you believe in. I believe in God, and you're not alone. And that's why you have to be vulnerable. You have to, let people know that you're suffering. Ask for help. If you have money, hire a coach, hire a therapist. Someone that actually is really good, that you're not just always talking about your problems. There's solutions. For every problem, there's a solution. So find a solution, and then know that you could be vulnerable. Even if you're going through the hardest of hard times, you're going through a divorce, you're going through, a death in the family, you're going through a business failure, you're going through a bankruptcy, you're going through the embarrassment of losing your house. Just let the right people know. Because even in my business, even if you have all these things that happen to you, man, we could certainly use someone with a burning desire. And this isn't a business pitch, but I'm just saying, like, you can make it all back. Money is just the transfer of energy. Like, you can make it all back. As long as you find the right people, the right opportunity, and you show up and you have a great, burning desire to be successful, whatever that definition is for you, great. But the reason I just bring that up is, like, you can change. Like, you can change your circumstances no matter how dark it looks like in the current situation, because I was there. I got my car repoed, okay? I got fired from my job. I got my cell phone shut off. I was homeless in 2004. September and October of 2004, I was homeless, no money, no cell phone, no car, no job. Literally a year later, I was making $10,000 a month, whether I worked or not. And I started my business on a bicycle. And back then in 2004, there was payphones in San Diego at a Target. I used to literally call from a payphone and invite people over to some location. It was actually my church, to, not on Sundays, but on days that I could actually meet some people at a free location, to pitch them a business opportunity. Okay, that was my first introduction to affiliate marketing or network marketing in 2004, 2005. That's a burning desire. I changed my circumstances. I went from shy to not being shy, to public speaking, to never thought I could even publicly speak or do a video like this. I'm telling you, God is good. You have the ability to change your life, but you have to make that choice. And it's not overnight. You're not going to see results in 3 days, 3 weeks. You need to have a 5-year compelling vision. And you need to every day be pulled by that vision. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, you have to have a 5-year vision. If you feel like you can't make it, get an accountability partner. Just like, a lot of great organizations have. And if you're afraid of accountability and you're afraid of pressure, wake up, because you're never going to be successful without pressure and without accountability. You, as a human being, the natural human instinct in all of us is apathy. Apathy is a natural human instinct common to us all, which we constantly seek our comfort zone, which nothing ever changes. So that's why you need accountability. That's why you need to become a leader, leading yourself first. That's why you need to have an inner circle of great people around you that are more successful than you, but you need to add value to those people too. You can't just gimme, take. You need to be a creator, not a taker. Even if you have nothing and you are even depressed, whatever, down and out, you need to create something out of that situation. Change your story, change your life, set higher standards for yourself. Look in the mirror. The first thing I would do is strip down naked after this video, by yourself, in the privacy of your own bathroom, not in front of people, right? And just look in the mirror and say, are you satisfied with that body? Are you satisfied with that belly? Are you satisfied with those arms, especially if you're a man? And of course women too, but men, are you satisfied with your biceps? Do you look masculine? Women, are you satisfied with your curves? Are you satisfied with the body? I'm not talking about for men, okay, men desire you. I mean, that could be a good thing, but I'm just saying like what you want in you, like how you want to walk around, you versus your health, and how you want to feel, and of course the healthy side, but also the way that you look, how what that confidence is, and how you walk around, how you portray yourself. Are your shoulders up or your shoulders down? Are like, yeah, man, life sucks. I'm amazing. Thank you for asking. It's all about postures, that physicality, changing your state, like Tony Robbins always says. That's how the small little things happen. If you want to have accountability, just get a mirror. Are you fat or are you skinny? Are you strong? Are you in shape? Do you have a 6-pack or a 1-pack? Now, wherever you're at, whatever your current reality is, you can change it through a choice, because you need to choose to grow. And again, you have more power than you think you do. So at the end of the day, this video hopefully not only inspires you, but also inspires you to be more vulnerable, ask for more help, reach out to the right people that you trust, and build a community, and also add value in that community, and not just make it about yourself. Because that's what brings purpose, that's what brings meaning, that's what brings just a fulfillment in someone's life. That it's like life is just bigger than your problems. Because if you're always focused on your problems, you're only going to get more problems. But if you focus on solutions, if you focus on how to become bigger than your problems, and then start aligning a team, recruiting literally a team around you that's going to be, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a coach, whether it's the right business partners, whether it's the right people that are going to lift you up in your own family, and then kind of get away from the negative people, even if it is your own family. You got to make that choice. You got to choose to make the change in your life. It's your power, it's your choice. Choose wisely, okay? So if you like this content and you would like a little bit more, you can definitely reach out to me on Instagram at Todd M. Cahill. I'm also a transformational success coach. Got a great program for diving into all of these strategies, all of the marketing, building a brand around that so that you can become as successful as you want to be, sharing this challenge that you're currently going through. This is your story, right? The test that you're going through is going to create the testimony, and the testimony is your message, and sharing that message on all the methods out there on the apps and YouTube and Instagram, blah, 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 is going to be able to eventually monetize. And you're not trying to make money off your story, but by inspiring others can bring a lot of fruit because of the story that you created. You're the Rocky Balboa of your own story. So when you get knocked down, are you going to get back up and keep fighting like Rocky did in all the movies? Or are you just going to, tap out? Because people that tap out, nobody wants to hear from them. But the people that get up, no matter how many times they've been punched in the face, that's inspiring. And that means you didn't quit when the times get tough. And that's overcoming adversity, okay? Inch by inch. It's the you versus you battle. Your choice to win it or not. Thanks so much.